Nick, welcome to Patriot Voices Radio today.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you, and as I mentioned, we hope you can shed some light first here on the IRS and the FEC targeting your group, American Future Fund. We've talked a lot on Patriot Voices Radio in the last month or so about these targeting of the conservative groups, but your group has kind of gotten caught here. Tell us exactly how you understand it at this point.
Well, first, I should say what a concerning situation it is, and this is a situation that a number of conservative groups have been caught up in. Where our situation is a little bit different is that it involves more than just the IRS. It involves what looks to be some degree of collusion between the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, and the IRS. And how this all turned up is it turned up because of the ongoing investigation that's taking place by the House Ways and Means Committee and the House Oversight Committee. And you may have heard they've requested literally, over 1 million documents from the IRS. And the IRS has been very non-compliant, not turned over very many of what's been requested at all yet. But part of what they have, or what they did turn over, is some emails. And what turned up in these emails actually was an email exchange that took place between a lawyer at the FEC and Lois Lerner. And you might remember the name Lois Lerner. She's the same actor that appears to turn up in all of these IRS targeting scandals. And basically, if you look at the email exchange that the Ways and Means Committee was able to discover, is it shows an ongoing conversation that takes place over a number of months and references phone calls that take place between the FEC and Lois Lerner, of which obviously, you have no idea to know what took place in those phone calls. But basically, they're discussing the American Future Fund. They're discussing our tax information, our tax status. And there's a real question about, first of all, number one, why is it even happening?
Sure.
Because the IRS can't reveal anything to the FEC that's otherwise not publicly available. So, of course, that leads you to question, gosh, why would you call them? If it's publicly available, why wouldn't you just do what you would do? You would, if you were interested, you'd fire up the Internet, you'd go online, and you'd figure it out yourself. And so that's an important question. But the bottom line is that there clearly is a relationship between Lois Lerner and the FEC and this particular lawyer at the FEC. And there's still a lot that we don't know. Basically, what we do know is that they were discussing the American Future Fund. We don't know the entire contents of what was discussed, but we know that it certainly looks suspicious. And frankly, because it does involve Lerner, who is the same actor in all these scandals, it's even more concerning.
Well, it sounds like we're just getting the tip of the iceberg here, and it's unbelievable when you really just take all this in. And of course, Lois, she's the one who took the fifth when she was ahead. Right. She doesn't really want to talk about it a whole lot, does she?
No, and I tell you what, how disappointing that you have a prominent taxpayer-paid employee, Lois Lerner, who's in a very powerful position at the IRS, who, by all accounts, has been accused of wrongdoing. There's a good amount of evidence that, there's a lot of smoke here. There's probably some fire. And when she was called in to testify, you're right, she did plead the fifth. And I'm not going to argue that she doesn't have the constitutional right and protections to assert her Fifth Amendment rights. I absolutely agree that she does. She's an American citizen, the same as anyone else. But gosh darn it, does it mean that we have to continue to employ her as a taxpayer-paid employee? Since that happened, she's been on a taxpayer-paid vacation. She gets to stay at home and still collect her salary, and it really shows the idiocy sometimes of the federal government when here we have somebody that's been accused of wrongdoing. She pleads the Fifth Amendment, and for months now we've continued to pay her not to work. However, maybe maybe paying Lois Lerner not to work is a good thing based on her performance.
Good point. Well, and to think that the IRS has been tapped to kind of head up Obamacare, that's scary, isn't it?
Oh gosh, no, it's very scary. And you look at Obamacare and it's just a mess. You have the IRS union who doesn't want to fall under Obamacare. You have the Teamsters who don't want to fall under Obamacare. You have a number of people that were constituencies of the president, constituent groups of the Democrat Party that helped push this law through, and now they don't want any part of it. And when you look at the IRS being charged with enforcing compliance with Obamacare, based on their performance with regard to these conservative groups over the past few years, I think it's pretty scary, and I think that it's very alarming, and there's a lot of folks that want to, we should defund Obamacare, we should repeal Obamacare. Well, the bottom line is, I think that even among Democrats right now, you have enough people saying we should just take a time out, and these are folks that wanted the bill to be passed, and that's something that I think that as Republicans that we certainly should take advantage of, because you even have Democrats right now that are saying, hey, slow down. I don't know if this is the right thing to do.
That's true. There seem to be a lot of exemptions. I know just this last week the congressional staff members opted out of Obamacare, so it doesn't seem to be real popular. Let me ask you, Nick, with the recent IRS targeting of conservative groups, were you surprised that the American Future Fund was a target?
It's a good question. When I started AFF in 2007, it was really more of an idea than it was anything else. And through the years, it's grown to be a pretty big group, a pretty active group. It does work around the country, and when all the other targeting scandals were breaking, there's part of me that wondered, well, why weren't we targeted, and we hadn't been. And then when we did find this out, and we found out that clearly they were poking around and probably doing some things that they shouldn't have been doing. The similarity is that they were doing that when the American Future Fund was a very small group, when it was a brand new group, which is the same as it is with so many of these other pro-life groups or Tea Party groups that they were picking up as well. And I think the lesson of that, if you look at that, is that really it almost makes you wonder if they want to stifle these groups when they're young and when they're immature and when they're small, and really prevent their ability to ever grow or to catch on or attract support. And because that really is the similarity between all these things. They do seem to pick on groups that I think they can pick on because they are small, or perhaps they don't have a team of lawyers to defend them or accountants to defend them, and I think that's a great similarity.
Well, it's been inspiring to hear some of the leaders who have taken a stand and started some of these groups that are small and early on stand up and go to Capitol Hill and let their voice be heard. It's got to be extremely frustrating to hear, in your case, about your organization being targeted by an agency that's supposed to be completely non-political. What is American Future Fund doing to fight back?
Well, I think that it is very frustrating, and one of the things that we've pledged to do is to be fully cooperative with the investigations by the Ways and Means Committee and the Oversight Committee, because I think that the first thing that you have to start with is that you have to get to the bottom of this mess, and at the very least, it appears as if we have a very rogue actor within the bureaucracy of the IRS and Lois Lerner. She's still on the taxpayer roll. She's still being paid. We still haven't gotten to the bottom of what she did from an oversight perspective or from a criminal perspective. And I think that it's incumbent upon all groups or individuals that are targeted to let's start there and let's get to the bottom of this. The second thing is we have to fix it. And I'm personally somebody that thinks that we we should get rid of the IRS. We should get rid of the income tax. We should start over. And the entire thing is a mess, and the bureaucracy that has been built up is unwieldy, and it looks like you have a fair number of bad apples in there as well, and I think that we'd be well served as a country to throw it all out and start over again. But regardless of whether that happens or it doesn't happen, there needs to be serious reform within the structure of the IRS, whether it's, my utopia is to get rid of the IRS or whether it's something else.
Right.
I think that Republicans and Democrats need to come together and need to do that. And to that end, you've seen Senator Baucus, who's a Democrat from Montana, has expressed a willingness to look at those reforms. Senator Levin, a Democrat from Michigan, has also been open to some of those reforms. And I think that's encouraging, and I'd like to see that continue, and anything that we can do to be part of that and to encourage that type of reform and Republicans and Democrats working together, we want to do that. The last thing is, as a group, we're not going to go away. We're going to continue to do what we have been doing. We advocate for conservative and free market ideals, and we hope that folks continue to support us and be interested in our advocacy and help ensure that we can continue to do that and stand up for conservative principles around the country.